Commander Allison Wright sat in her command chair on the bridge of the EFS's Vanguard. She looked at the main screen showing the stars. The ship moved quietly through space at the edge of human territory. This was her 5th year as commander of Earth's oldest working flagship. "Commander, I detect an unknown ship," said the ship's eye. The crew called him Pops because his programming was nearly 1,000 years old, though constantly updated. Allison straightened in her chair. "Show me." The main screen changed to show a strange vessel. It had an odd shape with sharp angles and glowing parts. "It doesn't match any known ships in our records," said Lieutenant Noah Campbell at the tactical station. He looked through files of the 30,000 alien civilizations humans had met so far. Nothing even close. "Distance?" asked Allison. "About 5 light minutes away and coming closer," said Noah. "Their engines seem primitive. Maybe fusion-based." Allison nodded. Earth had moved past fusion drives over 490,000 years ago. "Any weapons?" "I detect energy readings that might be weapons, similar to what we used around 498,000 years ago. Nothing that could harm our hull." Communications Officer Heather Martinez spoke next. "Should I try to contact them, Commander?" "Yes. Standard first contact message in all formats." Heather's fingers moved across her control panel. "Sending now." Basic math sequences, visual greetings, and peaceful intent markers. The bridge crew waited. Allison studied the alien ship. It had a certain beauty to its design. Each new species built ships that showed their view of the universe. "Commander, they're scanning us," said Noah. "Very basic energy pulse. It's barely touching our outer shields." "Let them scan. Keep weapons offline. We don't want to scare them." "More ships appearing," said Noah suddenly. "Looks like a fleet. I count 12 vessels now." Allison stood up and walked closer to the screen. "Defensive posture only. Let's see what they do." "Getting a response to our message," said Heather. "It's strange. Their translation seems basic. They're calling themselves the Zurkanet." "Put it on screen." The image changed to show an alien bridge. The beings had gray skin with ridges on their heads. They wore what looked like armor with many decorations. The one in the center seat seemed important based on its larger armor pieces. The alien spoke. Its voice came through the translator, sounding mechanical. "Human vessel. This is Supreme Commander Vex Thal of the mighty Zurkanet Empire. You have entered our space. Prepare to be boarded and claimed for our glory." Allison raised an eyebrow. "Interesting greeting. Officer Martinez, please inform them that this region has been part of Earth's territory for over 200,000 years." Heather sent the message. The alien commander seemed upset by the response. "Lies. The Zurkanet has ruled these stars for 3 generations. No other power exists that can match us." Allison looked at her second in command, Sam Peters. 3 generations. That would explain why they're not in our records. Sam nodded. "They must be very new to space travel." "They're powering up weapons," said Noah. "Should I raise shields?" "No need," said Allison. "Those weapons couldn't damage our hull paint. Let's not escalate." She turned back to the screen. "Supreme Commander Vexthal, we mean no harm. Earth has traveled the stars for 500,000 years. We welcome new civilizations and wish to share knowledge." The alien commander made a sound like laughter. 500,000 years. More lies. No species could last so long. Allison sighed. "Send a message to Fleet Command. We have a first contact situation with a young species that might need some diplomatic help." As she spoke, the alien vessels moved to surround the Vanguard. They clearly thought they had the upper hand. Little did they know that the single Earth ship could have easily outmatched 1,000,000 of their vessels without using even a fraction of its power. "What are your orders, Commander?" asked Noah. "We wait," said Allison, "and we hope they don't do anything foolish." Admiral Frank Johnson walked through the gleaming halls of Earth Fleet Command. The massive station orbited Earth at a safe distance from the Dyson sphere that now surrounded humanity's homeworld. He entered the central command room, where giant screens showed the status of Earth's million-ship fleet spread across 12 galaxies. "Admiral, we have a message from the ESS Vanguard," said a young officer. "Put it through to my office," said Frank. Inside his office, Frank watched the report from Commander Wright about the new alien species called the Zurkanet. He smiled slightly at their boldness. It reminded him of humanity's early days in space. "Computer, search historical records for any mention of the Zurkanet," he said. "No records found," replied the computer. "Based on location and description, this appears to be a newly evolved spacefaring civilization." Frank nodded. This happened every few centuries. A new species would achieve space travel and discover they weren't alone in the universe. Usually, they reacted with wonder or fear. The Zurkanets seemed to have chosen pride. "Send a message to diplomat Ethan Morris. We need his skills for this first contact." The main screen lit up with an incoming transmission from the Vanguard. "Admiral, the aliens are demanding to speak with Earth's leaders," said Commander Wright. "Put them through," said Frank. The screen changed to show the alien commander. The being had gray skin with bony ridges and wore ornate armor. "I am Supreme Commander Vex Thal of the mighty Zurkanet," the alien said through the translation system. "I demand to speak with the highest authority of your weak Earth government." Frank kept his face neutral. "I am Admiral Frank Johnson of Earth Fleet Command. I speak with the authority of Earth." "Then hear me well, Admiral. The Zurkanet claims this sector of space. Your ships must leave or be destroyed. We are the most powerful empire the universe has ever known." Frank muted the transmission and called Intelligence Officer Diana Powell to his office. She arrived quickly. "What do you make of this?" he asked, showing her the alien's message. Diana studied the alien's posture and words. They truly believe they're superior. Their civilization is probably only a few hundred years into space travel. They haven't met enough aliens to know their place in the galaxy yet. Frank nodded and unmuted the transmission. "Supreme Commander, Earth has existed in space for 500,000 years. We have no wish for conflict. I suggest we meet peacefully to discuss." "Lies," shouted Vex Thal. "No species could survive so long. Your deception will not save you. Prepare your people for our rule. We are sending our battle fleet to your position now." The screen went dark. Frank sighed and looked at Diana. "How developed are their weapons?" he asked. "Based on the Vanguard scans, they're using technology similar to what Earth had about 498,000 years ago. Nuclear missiles, basic energy weapons, nothing that could damage even our oldest ships. Let's send Ethan anyway. Maybe he can prevent them from embarrassing themselves." On the other side of the command center, diplomat Ethan Morris received his assignment. At 300 years old, he was young for a diplomat, but had handled 15 first contacts. He read the report about the Zurkanet while walking to his personal ship, the Olive Branch. The small vessel looked simple but contained technology that could outrun, outfight, and outthink the entire Zurkanet fleet. Ethan didn't care about showing off technology, though. His job was to make friends, not enemies. "Computer, set course to rendezvous with the EFS Vanguard," he said as he settled into the comfortable pilot's seat. "Course set. Estimated arrival time." 12 minutes, the computer replied. Ethan smiled. 12 minutes to cross 2,000 light years. The Zurkanet would learn soon enough that humanity's power came from patience and wisdom earned over countless generations, not from weapons or threats. As the Olive Branch slipped into subspace, Ethan reviewed the cultural information being compiled about the new aliens. He had a feeling this would be one of his more challenging assignments. Ethan Morris's ship, the Olive Branch, appeared near the EFS Vanguard in a small flash of light. The diplomatic vessel was small and sleek, designed to look peaceful rather than threatening. Still, its systems were far more advanced than anything the Zurkanet had ever seen. "This is Diplomat Morris to EFS Vanguard. I'm here to help with our new friends." Ethan said into the communication system. Commander Wright's face appeared on his screen. Glad you're here, Ethan. The Zerkanet has grown more aggressive. They now have 20 ships surrounding us. Ethan nodded. I'll handle it from here. Please hold your position. He directed his ship toward the alien fleet. The Zerkanet vessels were large and covered with weapon ports. They clearly valued the appearance of strength. Zerkanet fleet, this is Diplomat Ethan Morris of Earth. I come in peace to discuss our mutual interests in this region of space. The aliens responded quickly. Supreme Commander Vex Hall's face filled Ethan's screen. The alien looked at Ethan's ship with what seemed like satisfaction. You send such a tiny vessel to meet our war fleet. This shows how weak Earth truly is. Ethan kept his expression friendly. Size isn't everything. Supreme Commander, Earth has been traveling the stars for over 500,000 years. In that time, we've learned that big ships aren't always needed. Vexthal made a sound like harsh laughter. More lies. No civilization could last so long. The Zerkanet has conquered 12 star systems in just 3 generations. We are the greatest power in the universe. 12 systems is impressive, Ethan said politely. Earth oversees peaceful cooperation across 12 galaxies. We've met over 30,000 alien civilizations in our history. The alien commander slammed a fist down. I will not listen to these obvious lies. Do you take me for a fool? Ethan sighed. This was going to be difficult. I can show you proof of our history. Would you like to see? Without waiting for an answer, Ethan sent historical records to the alien flagship. The files showed Earth's progress over the centuries. The first lunar base, Mars colonies, the early warp drives, the expansion beyond the solar system, the restructuring of stars, the creation of artificial planets, and the development of technologies that could alter the basic laws of physics. Vexthal watched with growing anger. These are clever fakes. No species could accomplish such things. I understand your doubt, said Ethan. It's hard to believe at first, but Earth has had 500,000 years to develop. Your civilization is young, like we once were. Enough, shouted Vexthal. You insult the mighty Zerkanet with these fantasies. I will show you true power. The alien turned to one of his officers. Target the human's tiny ship. Fire all weapons. Show them what happens to those who mock us. Ethan frowned. This was not going well. Supreme Commander, I strongly advise against hostile action. I came here to establish peaceful. Fire, ordered Vexthal. The entire Zerkanet fleet launched their weapons at the olive branch. Energy beams, missiles, and projectiles streaked toward the small diplomatic vessel. Ethan didn't even touch his controls. The ship's defensive systems, designed to handle cosmic radiation and small space debris, automatically intercepted everything. The attack was so minor that the ship's AI didn't even bother to alert Ethan about it. On his screen, Ethan could see the confusion on Vexithel's face. Your weapons missed, the alien commander said in disbelief. They didn't miss, Ethan replied calmly. They just weren't effective against my ship's basic shields. Impossible. Vexthal turned to his weapons officer. Prepare the planet killer missile. We've never had to use it before, but this human leaves us no choice. The aliens launched a massive missile toward the olive branch. It was clearly their most powerful weapon, probably capable of causing serious damage to a planet's surface. Ethan sighed and pressed a single button. A soft field of energy surrounded the missile, stopping it in space. The weapon hung there, frozen in a bubble of altered time. Now can we talk peacefully? Ethan asked. Or do you need a more dramatic demonstration of the technology gap between us? Supreme Commander Vexthal stared at the screen in shock. The planet killer missile, the most powerful weapon in the Zerkanet arsenal, hung motionless in space. It was trapped inside a strange bubble of energy from the tiny human ship. What have you done to our weapon? Vexthal demanded. I placed it in a stasis field, Ethan explained calmly. It's a simple diplomatic protection measure. Your missile isn't harmed, just paused. The alien commander turned to his science officer. Is this possible? Can they truly stop a planet killer with such ease? The science officer looked confused and afraid. Our sensors cannot explain how they did it. The energy readings are beyond our understanding. Meanwhile, aboard the ESS Vanguard, Lieutenant Grace Rodriguez watched the situation with concern. She turned to Commander Wright. Commander, they don't understand what they're facing. Perhaps a small demonstration would help them grasp reality before they do something dangerous. Commander Wright thought for a moment. What do you suggest? The Aurora maneuver. It's mostly used for ceremonies now, but it would show them a small fraction of our capabilities without causing harm. Wright nodded. Good idea. She opened a channel to Ethan's ship. Diplomat Morris, we're going to perform a basic demonstration. Please inform the aliens to watch carefully. Ethan's face appeared on the screen. Understood, Commander. I think that's wise. Ethan turned back to his communication with Vex Ithal. Supreme Commander, the ESS Vanguard is going to perform a small demonstration. This is not an attack. Please observe. Vex Ithal's eyes narrowed. What trick is this? No trick. Just watch. Commander Wright pressed a button on her chair. Tactical. Begin Aurora maneuver. Target the nearby asteroid field. Beginning Aurora maneuver, said Lieutenant Noah Campbell. The Vanguard's engines glowed with a soft blue light. A wave of energy spread out from the ship, gentle and controlled. It reached the asteroid field about 1 million kilometers away. The asteroids began to move. Thousands of space rocks shifted position smoothly, as if guided by invisible hands. They formed a pattern. The Earth Fleet insignia, a stylized representation of Earth surrounded by stars. The Zircanet ships fell silent. No one spoke as they watched rocks the size of mountains move like dancers in perfect coordination. What are you doing to those asteroids? Vex, Thal finally asked, his voice quiet. We're temporarily altering local spacetime, explained Ethan. It's a maneuver developed about 300,000 years ago. Today, it's mostly used for celebrations and ceremonies. Aboard the Vanguard, Senior Engineer Kevin Patel studied the readings from the alien vessels. Commander, I've analyzed their technology, he reported. They're approximately at the level Earth reached 498,000 years ago. Their most advanced systems would be considered extremely primitive by our standards. Commander Wright nodded. Thank you, Engineer Patel. On the alien flagship, Vex Thal had called his officers together. They spoke in hushed voices, occasionally glancing at the screen showing the perfectly arranged asteroid field. It's impossible, said the alien weapons officer. No civilization could have such control over matter. Is it a trick? Asked Vex Thal. Some kind of illusion. The science officer shook his head. Our sensors confirm the asteroids have actually moved. Each one weighs millions of tons, and they moved them all like they were toys. Vex Thal turned back to the screen where Ethan waited patiently. Human, what is this power? How do you control such forces? It's not that impressive by our standards, Ethan said gently. The Aurora maneuver is taught to first-year cadets. Earth has developed much more significant technologies over our long history. How long did you say your species has traveled in space? Asked Vex Thal, his voice now lacking its earlier confidence. Just over 500,000 years, replied Ethan. We've had a lot of time to learn and grow. Vex Thal looked at the asteroid field again, still perfectly arranged in the shape of the Earth insignia. For the first time, doubt showed clearly on his alien face. Perhaps, he said slowly, we should discuss things more peacefully, as you suggested. Ethan smiled. I think that would be wise. The asteroid field continued to float in the perfect shape of the Earth Fleet insignia. The Zircanet ships remained in position, their crews silent as they tried to understand what they had just witnessed. You said this was a basic maneuver. Vex asked Ethan through the communication link. Yes, it's an old technique, developed around 300,000 years ago, Ethan explained. Today, we mostly use it for celebrations. Vexthal turned to his science officer. Could our best scientists develop such technology? The science officer shook his head. Not in 100 generations, Supreme Commander. They are manipulating gravity and space itself in ways our science cannot explain. On the Vanguard, senior engineer Kevin Patel continued his analysis of the alien vessels. He brought his findings to Commander Wright. "Commander, I've completed my review of their technology," he said. "Their fastest ships use basic nuclear fusion. Their weapons are simple atomic devices and energy beams. They're roughly equivalent to Earth technology from 498,000 years ago." Wright nodded. "Thank you, Engineer Patel. Please share your findings with Diplomat Morris." Back on the Olive Branch, Ethan received the report. He considered how best to explain the situation to the aliens without causing offense. "Supreme Commander Vexthal," Ethan said, "I understand this must be difficult to accept. When humans first went to space, we also believed we were special and powerful. How can this be?" asked Vexthal. "The Zircanet has conquered 12 star systems. Our scientists have developed weapons that can destroy planets. And that's impressive progress," Ethan assured him. "Every spacefaring civilization follows a similar path of development. Earth was once where you are now." "But 500,000 years?" Vexthal looked doubtful. "How could any species last so long without destroying themselves?" "We nearly did destroy ourselves several times," Ethan admitted. "But we learned from our mistakes. We discovered that cooperation was more powerful than conquest." Ethan sent more historical records to the alien ship. He showed them images of Earth's early space program, the first colonies on Mars, the development of faster-than-light travel, and the gradual expansion across the stars. "Each major alien contact changed us," Ethan explained. "We learned new ways of thinking, new technologies, new philosophies. The Zircanet is young, but you have much to offer the galactic community." Vexthal watched the images with growing understanding. For the first time, he seemed interested rather than angry. "You said you've met over 30,000 alien civilizations." "Yes," said Ethan, "each one unique and valuable. Some older than us, some younger. All part of the great pattern of life in the universe." On the Zircanet flagship, the officers gathered around their commander. They spoke in low voices, occasionally glancing at the screens showing the human ships and the rearranged asteroid field. "What should we do, Supreme Commander?" asked the second-in-command. "These humans could destroy our entire fleet if they wished." Vexthal was silent for a long moment. Then he straightened his posture. "If what they say is true, they could have destroyed us the moment we threatened them. Instead, they tried to talk peacefully." He turned to face Ethan on the screen. "Human diplomat, I have questions for you." "I'm happy to answer them," said Ethan. "If your people are so powerful, why haven't you conquered the galaxy? Why allow younger species like ours to develop our own territories?" Ethan smiled. "Because conquest is inefficient. Violence only leads to more violence. Earth learned long ago that peaceful cooperation benefits everyone." "And what happens to the Zircanet now?" asked Vexthal. "Will you demand our surrender?" "No," said Ethan firmly. "Earth doesn't work that way. We offer friendship and knowledge. We invite you to join the larger community of spacefaring civilizations. Your path is your own to choose." Vexthal looked at his officers. The doubt and fear on their faces was clear. Their view of the universe had been completely changed in just a few hours. "Perhaps," said Vexthal slowly, "the true mark of power is not conquest, but the wisdom to avoid unnecessary conflict." Ethan nodded. "That's a lesson it took humanity many painful years to learn." Ethan Morris stood on the bridge of the Zircanet flagship. Supreme Commander Vexthal had invited him aboard to learn more about human history. The alien crew stared at Ethan with a mixture of fear and wonder. "Welcome to our command ship," said Vexthal. "It is our greatest achievement." Ethan looked around with genuine interest. "You've done impressive work. The design shows creativity and practical thinking. The alien seemed pleased by his comments. Vex Thal led Ethan to a large meeting room where the ship's officers had gathered. "You promised to explain human history to us," said Vex Thal. "My officers are eager to learn." Ethan nodded. "I brought a special device to help me." He placed a small silver disc on the table. It floated up and projected a three-dimensional image of Earth. "This is Earth as it looked 500,000 years ago," Ethan explained. "Much like your homeworld, it had oceans, continents, and a growing civilization." The image changed, showing Earth's early rockets, space stations, and lunar bases. "Like you, we started with chemical rockets, then nuclear power, then fusion." The images moved faster, showing humanity's expansion through the solar system. "After we colonized our solar system, we developed the first faster-than-light travel about 490,000 years ago." The aliens watched as the images showed early human starships exploring nearby star systems. "Our first contact with an alien civilization happened 487,325 years ago," continued Ethan. "The Bryn were a peaceful species who taught us much about biology and art." "Did you conquer them?" asked an alien officer. "No. We traded knowledge. They had skills we lacked, and we had technologies they hadn't developed. Together, we both became stronger." The hologram showed humans and the bird-like Bryn working together on massive space structures. A new human entered the room. She had dark hair and carried scientific equipment. "This is Dr. Olivia Sanders," Ethan introduced her. "She studies the development of new spacefaring civilizations." Olivia smiled at the aliens. "Your species is following a classic development pattern. We've seen it thousands of times." She activated her own holographic display, showing a chart of civilization development stages. Most species follow this path: planetary unification, solar system colonization, faster-than-light development, early expansion, first contact with aliens, cultural shock, and then either cooperation or conflict. Vex Thal studied the chart. "Where are the Zurkanet on this scale?" "Here," said Olivia, pointing to the early expansion phase. "You've just begun to reach beyond your local star systems. And humans are." "Where?" asked the alien commander. Olivia's finger moved far to the right of the chart. "Earth passed beyond the standard scale about 300,000 years ago. We've been at what we call the Cosmic Gardener stage for a long time." "Cosmic Gardener?" asked Vex Thal. "We help nurture the development of the galaxy," explained Ethan. "We guide younger civilizations, preserve dying stars, and maintain the balance of cosmic forces." The hologram now showed massive structures surrounding stars, artificial planets, and vast networks of portals connecting distant parts of the galaxy. Vex Thal looked troubled. "If you have such power, why haven't you conquered everything?" "The Zurkanet would have." "Conquest is inefficient," said Ethan simply. "When you live for thousands of years, as most humans do now, you learn that cooperation creates more value than domination." "And what of the Zurkanet? Will you force us to join your gardening?" asked Vex Thal. Ethan shook his head. "We never force anyone. Earth's policy is to allow each species to develop their own path. We only intervene to prevent extinction-level events or threats to galactic stability." "But we threatened you," said Vex Thal. "We fired weapons at your ships." Ethan smiled. "Your weapons couldn't harm us. It would be like a child throwing a pebble at a mountain. We don't blame the child for not understanding the mountain's size." The alien commander walked to a window and looked out at the stars. "Our entire history has been built on conquest and strength," he said quietly. "You offer a different path." "A path we walked ourselves," said Ethan. "Every advanced species must eventually choose between cooperation and isolation. The galaxy rewards cooperation in the long run." A bright flash of light appeared near the gathered ships. A massive vessel emerged from subspace. It was the HFY Prometheus II, Admiral Frank Johnson's flagship. The enormous ship made the entire Zerkanet fleet look tiny in comparison. That ship, Vexthal stared in wonder. It must be the size of a small moon. The Prometheus I is one of our older capital ships, explained Ethan. Admiral Johnson wanted to come personally to meet you. The Admiral's face appeared on the communication screen. Supreme Commander Vexthal, I am Admiral Frank Johnson of Earth Fleet Command. I bring greetings from Earth. Vexthal straightened his posture. Admiral, your people have shown us much in the past day. The Zerkanet acknowledges your superior position. Not superior, corrected Frank gently. Just older. Given 500,000 years, your people might develop technologies we haven't even imagined. The Admiral's words seemed to please the alien commander. Frank continued, I've come to formally invite the Zerkanet to join the Galactic Development Initiative. It's a program designed to help young spacefaring races advance responsibly. What would this mean for us? Asked Vexthal cautiously. Exchange of knowledge, cultural understanding, and some basic technological assistance, said Frank. All voluntary, of course. Engineer Kevin Peddle from the Vanguard joined the conversation. With your permission, I could help your engineers improve your life support and propulsion systems. Simple adjustments that would make your ships safer and more efficient. Vexthal looked at his officers. They nodded eagerly. We would welcome such assistance, said the alien commander. Over the next few hours, human engineers visited the Zerkanet ships. They made small but important improvements to key systems. The aliens watched in amazement as problems that had troubled them for years were solved in minutes. These changes alone will save many lives, said the Zerkanet chief engineer. Our engines are now 30% more efficient. Admiral Johnson invited Vexthal to his ship to sign a formal agreement. The alien commander was overwhelmed by the size and technology of the Prometheus I. This is just one ship, he asked as they walked through massive hallways. Yes, said Frank. Though it's over 10,000 years old, our newer vessels are more advanced but often smaller. In the Admiral's meeting room, they signed the Treaty of Mutual Advancement. The document officially recognized the Zerkanet as a sovereign power and established peaceful relations with Earth. This marks a new chapter for your people, said Frank as they finished the signing. 3 months later, a Zerkanet delegation visited Earth for the first time. Vexthal led the group, which included scientists, engineers, and cultural experts. Their ship approached the solar system where humanity had begun its journey 500,000 years earlier. What is that surrounding your sun? Asked Vexthal, staring at the enormous structure that encased the entire star. That's the solar distance sphere, explained Ethan, who was guiding the visit. It captures all the energy from our sun. The original Earth is preserved inside as a museum and nature reserve. The aliens were struck silent by the scale of human engineering. The Dyson sphere was millions of times larger than their greatest construction projects. As their ship docked at a massive space station, they saw new Earth vessels being built in orbital shipyards. These ships were unlike anything they had seen before, with strange geometries that seemed to bend space around them. Those new ships can cross between galaxies in seconds, Ethan told them. They're part of our deep space exploration program. Vexthal watched the construction with newfound humility. I once believed the Zerkanet were the masters of the stars. Now I see we had barely begun to understand the universe. Ethan smiled. Every spacefaring species feels that way at first. The universe has a way of teaching perspective. Our greatest achievement, said Vexthal thoughtfully, was not building our small empire, but having the wisdom to recognize when we met our betters. Not your betters, corrected Ethan. Just your elders. 500,000 years from now, who knows? You might be teaching us a thing or two. The alien commander looked out at the stars, visible beyond the massive space station windows. For the first time in his life, he felt truly small, and yet part of something impossibly vast and wonderful. I believe, he said quietly, that would be a future worth building towards.